Fast forward 10 years. You wake up. The room is the same. The bank account implies the same struggle. You look in the mirror and you see the grey hairs of stress, but you don't see the scars of battle. Why? Because you never fought. You never took the risk. You just existed. You unlock your phone, automatic, mindless. The people you used to laugh at, they are running companies, they are fit, they are free. And you are still scrolling, still waiting for motivation, still paralyzed by the fear that someone, somewhere, might judge you. You are a spectator in your own life, consuming the highlight reels of people who actually lived. Does that sting? Good. It should burn. Because that isn't a nightmare. That is a prediction. That is the mathematical certainty of your current habits. You are running on a mental operating system that is obsolete. It was designed to make you a consumer, not a conqueror. You are crashing, lagging, and overheating on anxiety because you are trying to navigate a modern war with ancient, broken software. Most people will close this video right now to go protect their fragile ego. Let them. They choose the anesthesia. But if you are still here, it means you are ready to stop patching the bugs and start re-engineering the machine. This isn't just philosophy. This is the system reset. But before we can reboot the system, we have to locate the virus. And here is the terrifying truth about why you feel this way. The crash didn't happen because the world is too loud. The crash happened because you have mistaken the noise for the signal. Let's look at a scenario that plays out in bedrooms across America every single night. It is 11:42 p.m. You are exhausted, but you are not sleeping. The blue light of your phone is the only thing illuminating the room. You open LinkedIn or Instagram just for a quick check. And there it is, a post from someone you went to college with. Someone who wasn't smarter than you, wasn't harder working than you, and certainly wasn't as talented as you. But the caption reads, "Thrilled to announce I've been promoted to vice president," or "so grateful to close on our second home." What happens next is automatic. It is chemical. Your chest tightens, your stomach drops, and then the voice starts. You know this voice. It whispers, "You are falling behind." Look at them. They figured it out. You are still stuck in the same role. You are a fraud. You are going to die average. Now pause right there. Freeze that frame. Here is the question that will change your life if you are brave enough to answer it. Who is talking? Is that you talking? Did you consciously decide, "Hey, I think right now would be a great time to verbally abuse myself and ruin my sleep"? Of course not. You didn't choose that thought any more than you chose your heartbeat or your digestion. That thought just appeared. It popped up like a notification on a screen. The ancient Stoics understood this 2,000 years before neuroscience caught up. They realized that there is a fundamental error in the human operating system, the belief that you and your thoughts are the same thing. They are not. Think of your mind like the algorithm on TikTok or YouTube. Its job is to keep you engaged. And what keeps human beings engaged? Fear, outrage, insecurity. So your mind, this biological survival machine, feeds you content that gets a reaction. It suggests, everyone hates you. You engage with it. You worry. The mind says, "Ah, he liked that one. Let's send him more evidence that he's a failure." You are not the content creator. You are the victim of your own algorithm. Epictetus, a man who spent his youth as a slave, literally owned by another human being, discovered the only freedom that matters. He said, "Men are not disturbed by things, but by the view which they take of them." Read that again. The LinkedIn post? That is just pixels on a glass screen. It is neutral. It has no power to hurt you. The pain comes from your agreement with the thought that I am not enough. The pain comes because you watched the video your mind suggested, liked it, shared it with your insecurity, and subscribed to the channel of self-hatred. Most people spend their entire lives trapped in this cycle. They are held hostage by a roommate in their head who never shuts up, a roommate who is critical, paranoid, and often wrong. Think about the last time you were terrified about a meeting or a deadline. You played out the worst-case scenario 1,000 times. You lost sleep, and then the meeting happened, and it was fine. The voice lied to you. It stole your peace for a problem that didn't exist. So why do you still trust it? Why do you treat every random firing of a neuron as a fact? The moment you realize, deeply realize, that you are not your thoughts, the game changes. You become the observer. You are the one standing on the riverbank, watching the trash float by. You don't have to jump in the river and swim with the garbage. You can just watch it, acknowledge it, and let it drift downstream. There is a thought about anxiety. There is a thought about jealousy. There is a thought about failure. Interesting, but I don't have to buy it. This is the diagnosis. You have been identifying with the noise. You have been merging with the data stream. And that is why you are exhausted. Because you are trying to fight a war against a simulation that your own mind is generating. But once you separate the thinker from the thought, you create a gap, a space, and in that space, you have a choice. You can choose to disconnect from the algorithm. You can choose to stop feeding the beast. But this brings us to a dangerous problem. If you stop spending your mental energy on these automatic thoughts, you are going to have a sudden surplus of power. A massive amount of focus that is currently being wasted on nonsense. The question is, where do you invest it? Because in this economy, energy is the only currency that matters. And right now, you are bleeding cash. Are you ready to stop the bleeding and look at the balance sheet? If you walked down the street and saw a man opening his wallet, taking out crisp $100 bills and feeding them into a paper shredder, you would think he was insane. You would call the police, you would film it and put it on TikTok. Why? Because in our society, wasting money is seen as a cardinal sin. We obsess over inflation. We track the S&P 500. We optimize our credit card points because we understand that financial capital is finite. You wouldn't burn your cash. But here is the irony that should keep you awake tonight. You do this with your mind every single day. You are bleeding out the most valuable currency you possess, your mental energy, on investments that offer zero return. In fact, most of the time, you are paying interest on a loan you never took out. Let's look at your morning commute. This is the great American ritual of suffering. It is 8:45 a.m. You are on the I-405 or the FDR drive, or just stuck in the endless sprawl of suburbia. You have a critical meeting in 15 minutes, and the brake lights in front of you turn a deep, mocking red. You are not moving. Watch what happens to your internal economy. Your heart rate spikes. Your hands grip the steering wheel until your knuckles turn white. You start bargaining with the universe. Come on, move. You start drafting the excuse text in your head. You start hating the person in the Prius who just cut you off. You are pouring gallons of high-octane emotional fuel into this situation. You are investing your peace, your focus, your very sanity into this moment. Now, stop. Look at the balance sheet. What did that buy you? Did your anger make the traffic clear up? Did your anxiety make the clock stop ticking? Did your frustration make the other drivers better at driving? No. The return on that investment was negative. You spent your energy, and in return, you got cortisol. You got brain fog. You arrived at your meeting not just late, but depleted, exhausted, before the real work even began. You went emotionally bankrupt over a situation that didn't even know you existed. This is where Stoicism stops being philosophy and starts being economics. The ancient Stoics, Epictetus, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, they weren't just thinkers sitting in togas discussing the clouds. They were the ultimate hedge fund managers of the human spirit. They understood one brutal truth about the market of life. Most things are bad investments. Epictetus gave us the dichotomy of control, but let's rebrand that for the modern age. Let's call it the energy ROI. There are two categories in your portfolio. Category A includes your thoughts, your actions, your preparation, your character. Category B includes literally everything else. The traffic, the economy, the weather, what your boss thinks of you, whether you get likes on your post, whether you get laid off. Here is the trap. The modern world, the news, social media, the corporate ladder is designed to trick you into dumping all your capital into Category B. It screams at you to care about the election, to care about the celebrity scandal, to care about the opinion of a stranger on the internet. It demands you invest in outcomes you cannot touch. And when you invest in what you can't control, you are gambling with money you can't afford to lose. Or you become a slave to fortune. If the market goes up, people like you feel good. If the market crashes, you get rejected. You are destroyed. You have handed the keys to your happiness to a chaotic universe that doesn't care about your quarterly goals. A Stoic looks at that traffic jam, looks at that rude email, looks at that terrifying news headline, and asks one cold, calculated question. Does investing my emotion here yield a return? If the answer is no, the Stoic withdraws the capital. This isn't passivity, this isn't giving up. This is ruthless efficiency. Imagine how dangerous you would be if you took all the energy you currently waste on wishing things were different and reinvested it into dealing with things as they are. Imagine if, instead of raging at the traffic, you used those 20 minutes to listen to an audiobook that upgrades your skills. Imagine if, instead of spiraling into anxiety about a potential layoff, you used that energy to update your resume and network, securing your own safety net. That is the shift. You stop trying to control the storm, and you start focusing on sailing the ship. But I know what you are thinking. It sounds perfect in theory, doesn't it? Just stop caring about the uncontrollable. Just let it go. But you and I both know that is not how it works in the trenches. Why is it so hard to withdraw that investment? Why do we keep throwing good money after bad? Because you are an addict. You are addicted to the noise. You are addicted to the input. You are terrified of the silence because in the silence, you might have to face yourself. So you keep the news on, you keep the notifications loud, you keep the portfolio of your mind open to every scam artist that walks by. You know the economics now, but you lack the discipline to close the deal. You need a protocol to stop the bleeding before it starts. You need to cut the supply lines of the enemy. Are you ready to see what happens when you finally unplug the machine? To stop the bleeding, we have to cut the supply line. You understand the economics now. You know that your attention is a limited resource, but knowing isn't enough. Knowledge without a defense system is just trivia. You need a wall. You need a gatekeeper. And that brings us to the first tactical protocol of the new operating system. We call it the digital fast. Let's be honest about how your day actually begins. It isn't with a sunrise, and it certainly isn't with a meditation. It begins with a reflex. It is 6:30 a.m. Your alarm goes off. Your eyes are still adjusting to the darkness. Your brain is still shaking off the remnants of a dream. And your hand, acting on pure muscle memory, reaches out. It finds the cold glass of your smartphone, and before your feet have even touched the floor, before you have taken a single conscious breath, you have opened the floodgates. In 3 seconds, you download the world's chaos directly into your neocortex. Ping, an email from your boss about a crisis that isn't really a crisis. Stress, swipe. A headline about a looming recession or a political scandal. Fear, scroll. A photo of an ex-girlfriend looking happier than she ever was with you. Envy. You haven't even brushed your teeth yet, and you are already losing. You have allowed the world to storm into your bedroom, sit on the edge of your bed, and scream its demands in your face. You have handed the steering wheel of your day to strangers, to algorithms, to people who make money off your outrage. Seneca, the great Stoic statesman, warned us about this 2,000 years ago. He said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." He wasn't talking about playing video games. He was talking about the busy idleness of consuming things that do not matter. He was talking about letting users occupy your mind. If a random person walked into your house at 7 a.m. and started shouting about the stock market or complaining about their vacation, you would call the police. You would defend your space. So here is the question you need to answer. Why do you let them do it just because they are on a screen? Why is your mental home so much easier to break into than your physical one? The digital fast is not about becoming a monk. It is not about throwing your iPhone into the ocean. That is weak. That is running away. A Stoic doesn't run. A Stoic controls. The protocol is simple, but it will feel like withdrawal from a hard drug. For the first 60 minutes of your day, the phone is off, not on vibrate, not on do not disturb, off, or better yet, in another room. This is the sacred hour. This is the only time of day that truly belongs to you. In this hour, you are the architect, not the bricklayer. You decide what thoughts enter the construction site. Imagine the difference. In the old system, you woke up and immediately reacted. You spent your morning putting out fires you didn't start. You were defensive. You were scattered. You were a slave to the incoming notifications. In the new system, you wake up in silence. There is no input. There is no noise. There is only you and the day ahead. You make coffee. You look out of the window. You read a page of something that actually makes you smarter. You exercise. You plan your attack. And when you finally do turn on your phone at 8 a.m., something miraculous has happened. You are not overwhelmed. You are indifferent. You see the email, and instead of a spike of cortisol, you feel a calm detachment. You see the news, and instead of panic, you see data. You have already established your center of gravity. The world can push you, but it cannot knock you over, because you have already anchored yourself in reality, not in the cloud. But I have to warn you, the first few days of this will be agony. Your brain will scream. It will beg for the dopamine hit. You will feel bored. You will feel disconnected. You will feel the phantom buzz in your pocket. You will rationalize, I just need to check the weather. I just need to see if there's an emergency. Lies. That is the addiction talking. That is the old operating system fighting for its life. The boredom you feel, that isn't emptiness, that is space. That is the space where your best ideas live. That is the space where your character is built. In a world of noise, silence is the ultimate competitive advantage. While your competitors are frantically scrolling through Twitter at 7 a.m., getting angry about things they can't change, you are sharpening your blade in the quiet. By the time they start their day, they are already exhausted. By the time you start yours, you are lethal. But once you clear the noise, once the silence settles in and the distraction is gone, you are going to notice something else, something unsettling. Without the constant stream of content to drown it out, you will finally hear the narrative running in the background of your own mind. And what it is saying about you might be the most dangerous thing of all. Are you ready to confront the storyteller? The moment the external noise stops, the internal noise begins. And if you are, like most people, the voice inside your head is not a coach. It is a saboteur. It is a panic-stricken screenwriter desperately trying to turn your life into a tragedy. Protocol B is where we fire that screenwriter. We call this reframing the narrative. Let's look at the nightmare scenario that haunts the American middle class right now. It is Friday afternoon, 4 p.m. You get a calendar invite with no subject line, just a vague title. Quick sync. You log on to Zoom. Your manager is there. But so is a woman from HR you have never met. Her face is grim. She reads from a script. Restructuring, role eliminated, effective immediately. Click. The screen goes black. In less than 5 minutes, your access to Slack is revoked. Your email is locked, and you are sitting alone in your home office, staring at a blank monitor. Now, watch closely. This is the critical moment. This is where your life splits into two different timelines. Timeline A is the default setting. It is the victim narrative. Your internal narrator starts screaming, I am ruined. I am a failure. How will I pay the mortgage? What will my wife think? What will my friends say when they see my open to work banner on LinkedIn? I am 35 years old and I have to start over. This is unfair. This is the end. You feel that? That is the weight of the world crushing your chest. That is the taste of ash in your mouth. You spiral into depression. You start drinking at 5 p.m. You send desperate, clingy messages to recruiters who can smell your fear. You have turned an event into a catastrophe. But here is what the Stoics knew 2,000 years ago. A secret that is more valuable than any severance package. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your own judgment about it. And it is in your power to wipe out this judgment now." Read that again. The layoff, that is just physics. That is just atoms moving. An employer stopped transferring digital numbers into your bank account. That is the event. It is neutral. It has no emotion. It has no meaning until you assign one to it. Timeline B is the STOIC narrative. In Timeline B, the screen goes black. You feel the shock, but you do not let the narrator speak. You pause, you take a breath, and you look at the raw data. I have lost my job. This is a fact. But is it a tragedy? You realize that for the last 3 years you have been miserable. You have been complaining about your boss every weekend. You have been stagnating, doing work that a robot could do, trading your soul for a paycheck that barely covers inflation. You were comfortable, but you were dead inside. So you rewrite the script. You look at the blank screen and you say, "This is not an ending. This is an exit. The cage door just opened. The universe just kicked me out of a nest that was too small for me. This is the mandatory push I needed to finally start that business, or pivot to that industry, or take that risk I was too cowardly to take on my own." Can you feel the shift? The event hasn't changed. You are still unemployed. The bank account is still the same. But the energy is completely different. In Timeline A, you are broken. In Timeline B, you are dangerous. You are hungry. You are free. This isn't positive thinking. Positive thinking is delusional. It pretends the problem doesn't exist. This is reframing. This is looking at the obstacle and finding the leverage. Think about it. How many times in your past has a disaster turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to you? The breakup that felt like death, but led you to your wife. The rejection letter that forced you to apply to the school where you met your business partner. So why do you insist on labeling every surprise as a threat? Why is your first instinct always to write a horror movie? You are the editor. Life provides the raw footage. Sometimes it is shaky, sometimes it is dark, sometimes it is violent. But you choose the cut. You choose the soundtrack. You choose whether this is the scene where the hero dies or the scene where the hero is born. When you master Protocol B, you become invincible. Not because bad things stop happening to you. You will still get fired. You will still get dumped. You will still get sick. But because you lose the ability to be a victim, you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" And you start asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" You start to see every setback as data. Ah, I got fired. Data point. My skills were not unique enough. Action. Upgrade skills. Ah, she left me. Data point. I was neglecting the relationship. Action. Become a better partner for the next one. Suddenly the world isn't attacking you. It is training you. But be warned. Reframing the narrative requires immense mental horsepower. It requires a brain that is sharp and a will that is iron. And you cannot maintain a mind of steel if you are carrying it around in a body made of marshmallows. You can rewrite the script all you want, but if you crumble under the first sign of physical pressure, your philosophy is just words on paper. To truly lock this mindset in, we need to move from the mental to the physical. We need to test the system against the real world. We need to introduce a little bit of pain. Are you ready to stop thinking and start bleeding? You cannot rewrite the story of your life if the hand holding the pen is shaking. We have talked about the mind. We have talked about the narrative. But philosophy without physical application is just intellectual masturbation. You can quote Marcus Aurelius all day long. You can post inspirational quotes on your Instagram story, and you can tell yourself you are a warrior. But if you panic when the Wi-Fi goes down or spiral into a rage when your DoorDash order is 10 minutes late, then you are not a Stoic. You are a fraud. And this brings us to the most counterintuitive protocol in the entire system: voluntary discomfort. Look at your life right now. Really look at it. You live in a climate-controlled box. You sleep on a memory foam mattress designed by NASA. You have unlimited calories delivered to your doorstep with the tap of a finger. You have eliminated almost every single source of friction from your existence. We have engineered a society dedicated to one God, comfort. And the result? We have become terrified of the slightest inconvenience. We are fragile. We are soft. We are like zoo animals that have forgotten how to hunt. So when real tragedy strikes, and it will strike, we shatter. When your partner leaves you, when the diagnosis comes back positive, when the market crashes, you don't have the calluses to handle the friction. You have spent your whole life avoiding pain, so when pain finally finds you, it destroys you. The Stoics saw this coming. Seneca, one of the wealthiest men in Rome, would spend days living like a pauper. He would wear rough, scratchy tunics. He would sleep on the floor. He would eat only stale bread and drink lukewarm water. Why? Was he a masochist? No, he was inoculating himself. He was injecting a small dose of the virus so that he would be immune to the plague. He would look at his meager meal and ask himself the ultimate question: is this the condition that I feared? And the answer was always, no, I can survive this. I am stronger than this. So how do we apply this in the suburbs of America in the 21st century? We do not need to wear togas. We have something much more effective. It starts tomorrow morning. The alarm goes off at 6 a.m. It is dark. It might be raining. Your bed is warm. It is the most comfortable place on earth. Your brain, that soft, comfort-seeking algorithm, will start begging you. Just 10 more minutes. You need the rest. It's too cold today. Here is the protocol. You get up. You walk into the bathroom. You turn the shower handle all the way to the cold side, and you step in. Shock. Your breath catches. Your heart rate spikes. Your entire nervous system screams at you to get out, to run back to safety, to turn the heat on. This is the moment of truth. This is the battle. You stand there, you breathe, you do not run. You force your mind to override your biology. You tell your body, I am in charge here, not you. Does a cold shower change the world? Number, but it changes you. When you step out of that shower, shivering but alive, you have won the first victory of the day. You have proven to yourself that you can endure discomfort voluntarily. And if you can handle the cold water when you don't have to, imagine how you will handle the stress of a difficult meeting when you do have to. Imagine how you will handle the awkward conversation, the rejection, the failure. You are building mental armor. Every time you choose the stairs instead of the elevator, every time you choose to fast when you are hungry, every time you choose to finish the workout when your lungs are burning, you are adding a layer of steel to your character. You are teaching your brain that "I don't feel like it" is not a valid reason to stop. Ask yourself this: if you cannot conquer a generic 30-second urge to check your phone or a momentary shiver of cold water, how do you expect to conquer a life-altering crisis? Do you think you will suddenly rise to the occasion? You won't. You will sink to the level of your training, and right now, your training is non-existent. Voluntary discomfort is the gym for your will. It turns suffering into training. It takes the fear out of the future because you have already visited the worst-case scenario and you survived it. You realize that you don't need the fancy car, the validation, or the perfect temperature to be okay. You are self-sufficient. You are anti-fragile. But as you build this fortress, as you start to harden your mind and sharpen your spirit, you are going to look around at the people standing next to you. You are going to look at your friends, your co-workers, maybe even your family, and you are going to realize something terrifying. You are building a warship, but you are anchored to a fleet of sinking rowboats. Are you ready to cut the rope? You can build the strongest engine in the world. You can fuel it with the highest octane discipline, and you can steer it with a mind of absolute clarity. But if that engine is bolted to a chassis that is rusted, broken, and dragging on the asphalt, you are going nowhere. We have spent the last few minutes fortifying your internal world. We have installed the discipline, the reframing, and the voluntary discomfort. But now, we have to look outside. We have to look at the people standing right next to you. And this is where it gets personal. This is where it gets painful. Because the hardest part of Stoicism isn't the cold showers. It isn't the fasting. It is realizing that the people you love, your childhood friends, your drinking buddies, maybe even your family, might be the very thing that is killing your potential. Let's talk about a ritual that happens every Friday at 5:30 p.m. in every major city in America. It is the happy hour. You walk into a bar with your co-workers or your old college friends. The music is loud, the floor is sticky. You order a round of drinks, and then the ceremony begins. Listen to the conversation. Really listen to it. Are they talking about ideas? Are they talking about how to solve problems? Are they debating philosophy or fitness or the future? No, they are complaining. They are complaining about their boss. Did you see the email he sent? They are complaining about the economy. Inflation is killing me. They are complaining about their partners. She just doesn't get it. It is a circle jerk of victimhood. It is a competition to see who has it worse. And for years, you joined in. You chimed in with your own grievances because it felt good to belong. It felt good to be validated in your misery. You bonded over the shared trauma of being average. But now, you have changed. You have started the protocol. You mention that you are waking up early to work on a side project. You mention that you are reading Seneca. And what happens? The table goes quiet. Eyes roll. Someone makes a joke. Oh, look at Mr. Elon Musk over here. Why are you working so hard? Relax, have another beer. You feel that? That subtle, invisible pull? That is the crab bucket. When one crab tries to crawl out, the others don't cheer for him. They pull him back down. Not because they hate him, but because his escape forces them to confront the fact that they are still trapped. Epictetus warned his students about this with terrifying precision. He didn't mince words. He said, "If you consort with a dirty person, you will get dirty." It is not a metaphor. It is biology. Humans are mimetic creatures. We are like sponges. We absorb the emotions, the standards, and the habits of the people we spend the most time with. If your 5 closest friends are cynical, broke, and unhealthy, it is statistically impossible for you to remain optimistic, wealthy, and fit. You will regress to the mean. You will become the average. So, here is the audit. I want you to pull out your phone, mentally or physically, and look at your last 5 text conversations. Look at the names. Who are these people? Are they batteries or are they black holes? When you leave a conversation with them, do you feel charged up, ready to conquer the world? Or do you feel drained, exhausted, and cynical? When you tell them good news, do they light up? Or do you see a flicker of jealousy in their eyes? When you fail, do they help you up? Or do they secretly seem relieved that you are back on their level? If you realized that you were drinking poison every day, you would stop immediately. You wouldn't say, "Well, I've been drinking this poison for 10 years, so I should keep doing it out of loyalty." That would be insanity. Yet, you do this with toxic relationships every single day. You keep drinking the poison because you are afraid of being alone. Seneca said, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you." This doesn't mean you have to be a cold-hearted mercenary and dump all your friends tomorrow, but it does mean you need to build a gate. You need to have a VIP section in your life. You need to curate your circle with the same ruthlessness that a museum curator chooses art. If someone is constantly negative, constantly playing the victim, and constantly mocking your ambition, they lose their access. You stop picking up the phone. You stop going to the happy hour. You stop apologizing for your growth. Yes, they will call you arrogant. Yes, they will say you have changed. Good. You are supposed to change. You are not abandoning them. You are simply refusing to drown with them. You are cutting the anchor so that the ship can sail. And maybe, just maybe, when they see you sailing away, when they see you thriving, they will be inspired to cut their own anchors. But you cannot save them by staying in the water. You can only save them by getting to shore. But I have to be honest with you. When you conduct this audit, when you finally cut the dead weight, something strange is going to happen. The noise will stop. The drama will vanish. The complaining will end. And in its place, there will be silence. You will look around and you will realize that the VIP section is empty. You are standing there, completely alone. And for a moment, the panic will set in. You will wonder if you made a mistake. You will wonder if solitude is the price of greatness. But before you run back to the crowd, you need to see what is waiting for you in the dark. Are you ready to turn the emptiness into fuel? The silence you found in the last step, that emptiness where your toxic friends used to be, it wasn't a finish line, it was a clearing. You cleared the space so you would have room to fight the beast that is coming next. Because make no mistake, the moment you decide to level up, the universe will test you. It will check your paperwork. It will demand to know if you are serious. And this brings us to the core of the Stoic engine, the obstacle as fuel. Let's visualize the scenario that breaks 99% of people. You have spent the last 6 months pouring your blood, sweat, and savings into a project. Maybe it is a startup idea you pitched to investors. Maybe it is a content channel you started. Maybe it is a massive presentation for a promotion. You did everything right. You sacrificed your weekends. You followed the hustle culture rulebook. And then Tuesday morning hits. The email comes in. We decided to go in a different direction. Or maybe the launch day comes and nobody buys, 0 sales, or the algorithm changes and your views drop to nothing. Crash. The wind gets knocked out of you. You feel that sick, heavy stone in your stomach. Your vision blurs. The old operating system immediately boots up the victim protocol. It screams, "This is unfair. I worked so hard. Why does this always happen to me? I am cursed." You want to curl up in bed, binge watch Netflix and numb the pain with ice cream or alcohol. You want to quit. This is where the average person stops. They look at the failure, they label it bad, and they retreat. But you are running a different software now. In the midst of the wreckage, while the smoke is still clearing, you engage a concept that Nietzsche called amor fati, a love of fate. Not just tolerance, not just acceptance, but love. You look at the disaster, you look at the rejected proposal, you look at the empty bank account, and you say, "Good." Why? Are you insane? No, you are an alchemist. Marcus Aurelius wrote the most powerful sentence in the history of resilience. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Think about a fire. A small, weak candle flame is afraid of the wind. If you blow on it, it goes out. It dies. But a massive, raging bonfire, it loves the wind. The wind makes it hotter. The wind makes it brighter. The wind, which destroys the candle, becomes fuel for the fire. You are not the candle anymore. You are the bonfire. So let's re-examine that failure. You didn't get the investment? Good. Now you don't have to give away equity to sharks who don't understand your vision. You are forced to bootstrap. You are forced to be leaner, meaner, and more creative. The lack of money has become the reason you will build a better product. You got fired? Good. You were getting comfortable there anyway. You were stagnating. Now you have the terrifying freedom to pursue the career you actually wanted. The termination letter wasn't a death sentence. It was a permission slip. The relationship ended. Good. Now you have the solitude to work on yourself, to hit the gym, to read, to become the person who attracts a partner 10 times better. Do you see the shift? The Stoic doesn't ask for an easy life. The Stoic asks for strong shoulders. The Stoic realizes that the obstacle is not blocking the path. The obstacle is the path. Without the failure, you wouldn't have the lesson. Without the resistance, you wouldn't have the muscle. Look at the history of American industry. Look at the icons on the magazine covers. Airbnb was founded because the founders were broke and couldn't pay rent. Uber was born because they couldn't get a cab in the snow. The Great Recession of 2008 destroyed millions of dreams, but it also forged the strongest companies of the next decade. Why would you want to avoid the very thing that makes you great? Why are you praying for the mountain to move instead of praying for the strength to climb it? Why do you think the universe is punishing you when it is actually sharpening you? Every time something goes wrong, you have a choice. You can be the victim, or you can be the student. You can let the event break you, or you can use the event to break your old limits. When you adopt this mindset, you become terrifying to your enemies and to your own fears. Because how can anyone defeat a person who gets stronger every time they are hit? How can life break you if you treat every fracture as a chance to grow back stronger? You become anti-fragile. You start to walk into the storm with a smile because you know the wind is only going to fan your flames. You stop fearing the no. You stop fearing the error message. You realize that failure is just the cost of tuition in the University of Greatness. But let's be real. It is easy to feel this power right now. You are watching a video. The music is inspiring. You feel motivated. You feel like you could run through a brick wall. Motivation is a drug, and like all drugs, it wears off. Tomorrow morning, the music will stop. The adrenaline will fade. You will wake up tired. You will wake up sore. The obstacle will still be there, and it will look big and ugly. And that is when the real danger sets in. How do you keep the fire burning when the motivation dies? How do you maintain this operating system when you just don't feel like it? You don't need more inspiration. You need a machine. Motivation is a beautiful spark, but sparks do not keep the lights on in a storm. You cannot build a life on the feeling of inspiration any more than you can build a house on a foundation of fireworks. The fire we ignited in the last section, that rage to overcome, that alchemical ability to turn obstacles into fuel, will burn out by Tuesday afternoon if you do not have a system to feed it. You need a machine, a relentless, boring, unsexy machine that operates whether you feel like a warrior or a coward. And this brings us to the daily maintenance. Think about your smartphone. Every single night, without fail, you plug it into the wall. You wouldn't dream of letting it die. You wouldn't drive your car for 10 years without changing the oil. You understand that mechanical systems require maintenance to function. Yet, you expect your mind, the most complex, volatile, and high-performance engine in the known universe, to run indefinitely without a single minute of preventative care? Insanity. You are running on 1% battery, wondering why you are glitching out at your family, snapping at your co-workers, and collapsing under the weight of decision fatigue. The Stoics didn't have iPhones, but they understood the concept of charging. They understood that a mind left unguarded will eventually be corrupted by the world. So, let's look at the morning, but not the morning you are used to. The average American morning is a frantic accident. You wake up late, you chug coffee, you rush out the door, already anxious about the traffic. You are hoping, praying, that today will be a good day. You are hoping the boss is in a good mood. You are hoping the client says yes. You are fragile because you are relying on luck. The Stoic morning is different. It begins with a technique that sounds terrifying to the uninitiated. Premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Imagine sitting with your coffee in the quiet of the dawn. Instead of visualizing success, instead of repeating empty affirmations like, "I am a money magnet," you visualize the worst. You close your eyes and you see the traffic jam. You see the rude barista. You see the client rejecting your proposal. You see your computer crashing right before the deadline. Why would you do this? Are you a masochist? No. You are inoculating yourself. You are watching the horror movie in your head so that when the monster actually jumps out at 2 p.m., you don't scream. You smile. You say, "Ah, I was expecting you. I have already solved this problem in my mind." You have stripped the future of its power to hurt you. While your colleagues are panicking because the Wi-Fi is down, you are calm because you already lived through it 3 hours ago. You are not hoping for a smooth flight. You are preparing for turbulence. Would you rather be the optimist who is crushed by reality or the realist who is unbreakable? This is the armor you put on before you walk out the door, but armor gets dented. By the time you come home at 6 p.m., the world has taken its toll. You have absorbed the stress of the commute, the passive-aggressive emails, the noise of the city. You are tired, and this is the most dangerous time of day. This is when you want to numb out. You want to collapse on the couch, turn on Netflix, open a bottle of wine, and scroll until your eyes bleed. You call it relaxing, but it isn't relaxing. It is hiding. It is burying the debris of the day under a layer of digital distraction. Seneca had a different protocol. He didn't turn on the TV. He turned off the lights. Every evening, in the darkness of his room, he would conduct the audit. He would put his soul on trial. He would ask himself questions that most of us are too terrified to answer. What bad habit did I cure today? Where did I let my anger control me? Was I a coward when I should have been brave? Did I treat that waiter with respect, or did I treat him like a servant? He reviewed his entire day, scene by scene, without judgment, but with brutal honesty. If he failed, he acknowledged it. If he succeeded, he noted it. He closed the loops. He didn't carry the baggage of Tuesday into Wednesday. He cleaned the slate. Imagine if you did this. Imagine if, instead of distracting yourself from your failures, you confronted them. You would stop making the same mistakes for 10 years in a row. You would actually learn. You would go to sleep with a conscience that is clean, not because you are perfect, but because you are honest. This morning preparation and this evening review, they are the bookends of a Stoic life. They are the walls that keep the chaos out. They transform your life from a series of random accidents into a deliberate practice of excellence. But there is one final question you must ask yourself as you lay your head on the pillow. A question that haunts the edges of our consciousness. A question that puts all your meetings, all your stress, and all your ambition into a terrifyingly small perspective. You have optimized your day, you have protected your energy, you have built your armor, but have you ever stopped to consider how many days you actually have left? Because the clock isn't just ticking, it is running out. We have talked about optimizing your morning, We have talked about auditing your evening. We have built a machine that squeezes every drop of value out of the 24 hours you are given. But there is a flaw in this logic, a dangerous, seductive flaw that almost every single person watching this video is currently falling for. You are operating under the assumption that the supply of days is infinite. You live your life like a millionaire who thinks his bank account has no bottom. You spend your time with a reckless arrogance, pouring hours into scrolling, into worrying, into jobs you hate, and relationships that drain you, because you believe, deep down in your subconscious, that there will always be a tomorrow to fix it. This brings us to the ultimate deadline. Let's look at a tragedy that is happening right now. In a coffee shop or a cubicle near you, maybe it is happening to you. Meet the version of you that exists in your head. This version is going to write that novel someday. This version is going to travel to Japan when things settle down. This version is going to finally tell your father you love him when the timing is right. You have a mental folder labeled Later, and it is full of your most important dreams. You treat later like a real place on a map. You think you can book a flight there. But Seneca, the man who guided an empire, looked at this behavior and laughed. He asked, how late it is to begin really to live just when life must end. He saw the absurdity of it. We act as if we are immortals. We fear everything like mortals, but we desire everything like immortals. We delay our happiness for a retirement that is 30 years away, ignoring the statistical fact that you might not even make it to the weekend. Imagine this scenario. It is a Tuesday afternoon. You are stressed about a presentation. You are worried about a stain on your shirt. You are angry that the barista messed up your order. Your cortisol is spiking over absolute nonsense. And then your phone rings. It is a doctor. He has looked at your scans, and his voice is quiet, serious. He tells you that there is a mass. He tells you that you have 6 months. Snap. Just like that, the world shifts. Look at that stain on your shirt now. Does it matter? No. Look at that presentation you were losing sleep over. Does it matter? No. Look at the opinion of that stranger on the internet who called you stupid. Does it matter? Zero. In a single second, the noise evaporates, and only the signal remains. You suddenly know exactly what is important. You want to hug your kids. You want to feel the sun on your face. You want to say the things you were too busy or too proud to say. You don't want to check your email. You don't want to impress your boss. The Stoics didn't want you to wait for the cancer diagnosis to get that clarity. They wanted you to have it now. They carried a concept called memento mori. Remember, you must die. This wasn't to make them depressed. It wasn't to make them goth or morbid. It was to create urgency. Death is the only thing that gives life meaning. If you had 1,000 years to write your book, you would never write it. You would play video games for 900 years. It is the deadline that forces the art. It is the scarcity that creates the value. So why do you live as if you have a contract with eternity? Who promised you next Tuesday? Who signed that guarantee? Think about the last time you saw a friend and said, "We should grab coffee sometime." And then you both walked away, knowing deep down that sometime means never. You wasted that moment because you thought it was cheap. You thought you had 1,000,000 more of them. But what if you knew, with absolute certainty, that it was the last time you would ever see them. How would you look at them? Would you look at your phone while they were talking? Or would you memorize every line on their face? Would you listen to their voice like it was the most beautiful music in the world? You would be present. You would be alive. This is the power of the ultimate deadline. When you keep death in your pocket, when you touch it every morning like a coin, you stop tolerating mediocrity. You stop staying in jobs that kill your soul because you realize life is too short to be miserable for a paycheck. You stop holding grudges because you realize life is too short to drink poison. You stop caring about what they think because you realize that in 100 years, they will be dust, and so will you. Steve Jobs said it best to a room full of students. Death is very likely the single best invention of life. It is life's change agent. It clears out the old to make way for the new. It strips away the pride, the fear of embarrassment, the fear of failure, leaving only what is truly naked and real. So I have a challenge for you. It is terrifying, but it is necessary. Tonight, when you lay your head on your pillow, I want you to imagine that you will not wake up. I want you to really feel it. The lungs stop filling, the heart stops beating, the story ends, the credits roll. Everything you left unsaid stays unsaid. Everything you left undone stays undone. Does that thought fill you with peace, or does it fill you with regret? Because if you feel regret, if you feel a panic rising in your chest that you haven't done what you were put here to do, then that is the most valuable emotion you will ever feel. That is your soul screaming at you to wake up. You have been sleepwalking. You have been drifting. You have been waiting for a permission slip that is never coming. But now, the alarm has rung. The diagnosis is in, the deadline is set. You have stared into the void, and the void has stared back. The fear of death has stripped away the fear of living. And now that you are finally awake, now that the fear is gone, we can finally install the new system. We can finally reveal who you are supposed to be. Are you ready to meet him? When you stare into the void and the void stares back, something in you dies. The part of you that needed everyone to like you dies. The part of you that was terrified of looking stupid dies. The part of you that waited for permission dies. And in that empty space where the fear used to live, we finally install the new operating system. This is not a software update. This is a complete format of the hard drive. You are no longer the buggy, lagging, overheating machine that crashes every time life opens too many tabs. You are something else entirely. You are streamlined. You are efficient. You are lethal. Let's see what this looks like in the real world, in high definition. Imagine it is Tuesday afternoon. The perfect storm hits. You are at work. Your biggest client just emailed to cancel the contract, the one your promotion depended on. 10 minutes later, your boss walks by and drops a cryptic comment about budget cuts. Then your phone buzzes. It is a text from your landlord saying the rent is going up by $500 next month. Boom! In the old operating system, this is the end of the world. Your cortisol spikes, your vision tunnels. You feel that hot, sick feeling rising in your throat. You rush to the bathroom to hyperventilate. You call your mum, panic-stricken. You go home and drink half a bottle of wine just to shut your brain off. You lose a week of sleep replaying the events, terrified of the future. You are a leaf in a hurricane, thrashing, helpless and out of control. But that person, that version of you, is dead. Watch the new you handle the exact same data. The email comes in, contract cancelled, the boss speaks, budget cuts, the text arrives, rent increase. You sit there, you take a breath, and the first thing you notice is the silence. There is no panic. There is no screaming voice in your head saying, "I am ruined." There is only a cold, clinical assessment of the facts. The new operating system kicks in immediately. It runs the dichotomy algorithm. Input, client cancelled. Analysis, can I force them to come back? No. Can I control my response? Yes. Action, draft a polite exit email. Pivot, focus to the 3 other prospects in the pipeline. Input, boss implies layoffs. Analysis, can I stop a corporate decision? No. Is my resume updated? Yes. Action, spend tonight polishing the portfolio. Network, prepare for the worst, hope for the best. Input, rent hike. Analysis, do I have the cash? It will be tight. Can I move? Yes. Action, look at listings this weekend, calculate the budget, adapt. Do you see the difference? The external world is exactly the same. The chaos is still there. But the internal world is a fortress. You walk out of the office not with your head down, but with your chin up. You are not vibrating with anxiety. You are vibrating with purpose. You look around at your colleagues who are gossiping and freaking out, and you feel a strange sense of distance. You are in the same room, but you are not in the same reality. They are reacting to the storm. You are navigating it. People start to look at you differently. They can't quite put their finger on it. You don't complain anymore. You don't gossip at the water cooler. When problems arise, you don't vent. You solve. There is a weight to your presence that wasn't there before. It is the weight of self-mastery. You have become what the ancients called a warrior in a garden. Most people are gardeners in a war. They are soft, unprepared, and shocked when violence or tragedy finds them. But you are a warrior. You have the sword of discipline. You have the shield of resilience. You can tend to the flowers. You can love, you can laugh, you can enjoy a sunset. But when the wolves come, and they always come, you do not need to get ready. You are already ready. Think about the freedom of that. What would you do if you knew you couldn't be hurt? I don't mean physically hurt, I mean emotionally bankrupt. What risk would you take if you knew that rejection was just data? What business would you start if you knew that bankruptcy was just a lesson? What truth would you speak if you knew that judgment was just noise? You would be unstoppable. This is the promise of the Stoic operating system. It doesn't promise you a life without pain. That is a fairy tale. It promises you a life where pain does not own you. It promises you that no matter what the world throws at you, insults, poverty, sickness, betrayal, you will remain the captain of your soul. You will stand amidst the ruins of your plans, dust yourself off and say, "Okay, what's next?" But here is the final trap, the most dangerous one of all. Right now, as you listen to this, you feel the power of this new identity. You can see it. You can taste it. You feel ready to storm the gates. But this video is about to end. The screen is going to go black, and the silence of your real life is going to rush back in. The old habits are waiting in the hallway, doing push-ups, ready to tackle you the moment you look away. Will this just be another motivational video that you watched, got a dopamine hit from, and then forgot 3 hours later? Will you go back to being a gardener in a war? Or will you do the one thing that separates the philosophers from the posers? Because knowing the code is not the same as running the program. Are you ready to press execute? We have burned the old script. We have installed the new operating system. We have handed you the weapons of the mind. But weapons are useless in the hands of a coward. Knowledge is not power. Execution is power. You can understand every concept in this video, but if you close this tab and go back to scrolling, back to complaining, back to seeking validation from people who do not matter, then you have learned nothing. You have simply entertained yourself while the ship sinks. And make no mistake, the ship is sinking. Think about this. While you were watching this video, sand ran through the hourglass. You are closer to your death right now than when you clicked play. That is not a metaphor. That is a biological fact. Do you really want to spend your remaining grains of sand worrying about a rude email? Do you want to spend your limited capital on anxiety about a future that hasn't even happened yet? Every second you spend in fear is a second you steal from your own life. It is a theft you can never repay. So here is the test. Not next week. Today. I challenge you to the 24-hour Stoic silence. For the next full day, you do not complain. You do not gossip. You do not explain yourself to anyone. If something bad happens, you swallow it. You process it. You convert it into fuel without saying a word. You let your actions speak so loudly that your voice becomes unnecessary. Can you do it? Or are you addicted to the noise? This channel is not for the masses. It is not for the tourists who want to feel motivated for 5 minutes. It is for the resistance. It is for the rare 1% who are ready to kill the slave inside them to birth the master. If you are ready to stop arguing about how to live and actually start living, then prove it. Don't just watch, act. Subscribe to join the ranks. But more importantly, leave your mark below. If you accept the challenge, comment the 2 words that define our creed, amor fati. Love your fate. Embrace the fire. And remember what the emperor said. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one.